Every story has an author. Every author has a story. Join us for off-the-page interviews, inside stories, and a look into the world of publishing. This is Page Turners. Hi, welcome to Page Turners. I'm Hilary Kennedy, and we are continuing our conversation with entrepreneur and author Michael Gorton, and he is an 11th generation descendant of Samuel and Mary Gorton, two of the founders of Rhode Island. And in his book, Forefathers and Founding Fathers, Michael gives a historical, fictional account of his own ancestors and some other pioneers who sparked the ideals of democracy that were used to build America. So Michael, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so last time we talked about the origin of your book, your writing process, but now we want to focus a little bit on the characters of the book. So tell me about the Great Migration. What was that?
Okay, King Charles had just become the King of England, and he did two things. One, he got rid of Parliament. So now it was just the king making all the rules. And the other thing he did was he made being a Puritan illegal. So the Puritan movement was a religious movement in the late 1500s into the mid 1600s in England, and all those people said, we have to continue to practice our religion. So 80,000 people left England during that time period, and just over 20,000 came to the northern colonies and founded the Massachusetts Bay Colony and Plymouth and Connecticut.
So what was life like living in Puritan Massachusetts after they'd come all the way over?
Oh boy. So now, remember, we're leaving the paved streets of London, the gas-lit lamps of London, the market where you can go buy things, and we're going to wilderness. We're going to houses that have dirt floors, bathroom outside. So think about New England in the winter when it's minus 20 degrees and there's 2 feet of snow and you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. But also candles and oil lamps were an absolute luxury. So when the sun sets, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. It's dark, right? And so there's that. And then also during that time period, people didn't bathe very often and they almost never changed their clothes. Can you imagine that?
That would be really uncomfortable
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yep, and so it was kind of stinky over there. And so we think of people coming to the colonies for religious freedom, which was true, but they were essentially forming a brand new government with religion and government being the same thing. And so if you didn't go to church on Sunday, it was a crime.
Wow. So tell me about theocracy. What is a theocracy?
A theocracy, and we still have theocracies today, but they're relatively rare. When the Vatican was running the Catholic Church and all of the kings reported to the Vatican, that was a theocracy. Mm-hmm. The government and the religious leaders are one and the same. And so you do what the religious people say,
right?
So there's no freedom of religion in theocracy. You believe what the leadership believes.
How interesting. So what caused the men and women to found Rhode Island? Because these are your ancestors.
Right, right. So the first founder of Rhode Island is Roger Williams. And Roger came to the Boston colony, and he didn't really like some of the beliefs in the Boston colony. So he moved down to Plymouth, and he didn't like those either. And so he said, I need to go start my own colony. And Roger Williams was somewhat of a pacifist. He just quietly went from place to place, and finally he bought some land. Roger Williams was remarkable in that he was very good at communicating with the Indians. He learned their language, he bought land from them, and so he started a colony in what is now Rhode Island.
Wow, how interesting that he
Yep.
took the time to learn their language and communicate with
Correct.
them.
Correct.
That was pretty progressive back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what was the antinomian controversy?
Okay, so in the mid 1600s, a lady by the name of Anne Hutchison came as part of the Great Migration to the Boston colony. She and her husband were very wealthy. They owned one of the nicest houses in the center of town. Anne was educated. Her father was a very well-known minister in England, and he educated her. Well, she was also a very good public speaker. So she would do what were called conventicles, which were, she would bring people into her home and she would teach. She was also a midwife, so as close to a doctor as you could get at that time period. And she became very popular. But her belief was what is called antinomianism. And so we don't need to go into that specifically other than to say they believed you got to heaven through grace, and the church leadership at the time believed you got to heaven by following their rules, right? And so not only was she a great speaker, everybody loved listening to her, but female and didn't follow the norms. And so the leadership in the Boston colony decided we need to get rid of her.
Wow.
And so they accused her of sedition and heresy. They put her on trial. She was pregnant during her trial, and they banished her from the colony.
Wow, so she was banished from the colony of Massachusetts basically for being educated and teaching others. Right?
That's the way I would say it.
That is, wow, yep. What a brave lady.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Very brave lady.
So do you see any parallels between the issues that your characters faced, like Anne in colonial America, that you see people facing today?
So, yes. I mean, we still don't have complete equal rights. We all know that. We're all working on it. Then it was blatant. Now it's a little bit more subtle. But there's another part of what was happening then that's about to happen right now. And the kids today will totally get this. Again, we're on the paved streets of London with oil lamps and markets where we can buy our product. And we get on a ship, cross into the wilderness. So there's this guy named Elon Musk right now who's saying, I'm going to colonize Mars. And if you go into a classroom today, the high school kids, and ask them, how many of you would be on that mission? A significant percentage would say yes. So they would leave the paved streets of Dallas to go to the red sands of Mars. Imagine that. And that's about to happen.
That is, I would never have thought about making that parallel, but you're so right that, I mean, we're headed into these new frontiers. They might not be here in America, they may be in space.
Right.
But that is fascinating that it's essentially the exact same thing.
It is.
How neat. All right, so it's very true that we're dealing with the same issues and themes, and you've written a terrific resource for the classroom. I hope every educator picks up a copy of the book, Forefathers and Founding Fathers. It's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you.
Well, we'll see you next time on Page Turners. Thanks for joining us, and be sure and get a copy of Forefathers and Founding Fathers by Michael Gorton.